Hello everyone. Let's begin our program. And Delhi Ikebana International once again welcomes all its global family. I'm Neena Varma, President of Delhi Ikebana International. On behalf of my organization, I'd like to welcome Madam Ambassador Chikaze Suzuki, wife of the Ambassador of Japan from Japan to India. President Ikebana International Headquarters, Tokyo, Miho Okawara, presidents, delegates, and senior masters of various organizations and schools from India and abroad. It is delightful to note that we, in upholding our motto, Friendship Through Flowers, have managed to make a small family within this large world. Delhi Ikebana International, in its pursuit to get you live demonstrations, is taking you across the continent all the way to USA, Ohio. We have with us today a very gifted Ikebana teacher from Cincinnati, Bonita Brockert. Bonita's keen interest and passion for Ikebana drove her to study various schools of Ikebana, from Sugetsu to the Moto School to Ikenobo. Bonita's deep insight and knowledge of Ikebana and the various styles gives her the unique ability of doing different arrangements with the same material. We shall today witness her versatility through her creations. Over to Bonita.
Hi everyone, thank you Nina, and welcome everyone around the world and our friends from Japan and everywhere. It's early here in Ohio, it's morning, and we're having a rainy day today. And I want to thank the Delhi Ikebana and Ikebana International for inviting me to do this. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I got interested in Ikebana, and I did not know anything about it on my visit to Japan. I was in Japan in 1985, a long time ago, as a young dancer, and we were there on tour, and our headquarters there, we were dancing in the Kintetsu Theater, and I understand that there's a new theater there. We also danced in Tokyo for Fashion Aid Japan. But when I was there, I didn't get to see a lot of Japan because we worked all the time and we did 9 shows a week. So we had only 2 days off in 5 weeks. I did get to go to Kyoto on a very rainy day when it was under construction. So when I came back, I was working in the studio, and there was a group of Japanese ladies who came to the studio while their husbands were working in the United States. That's my poodle that just went through. And they invited me to come to their Ikenobo class at the conservatory. And after one class, I had fallen in love with the art. So one of the things that I like to do with Ikebana is capture a moment of nature, or maybe find something special along the road or in the garden, and then feature that. So sometimes very, very simple things. And actually my first arrangement today was inspired by this piece of bark. So I'm going to bring that a little closer to the camera so you can see how beautiful it is. It's beautiful texture. And this little knot hole was perfect. So I wanted this to be the main feature. So this is just a glass vase that was given to me by one of my dance students and friends. And I'm going to just put this in front. Now those of you that do Ikebana know sometimes we have a balancing act to do. Now these tulips are not in season here now, but they're usually easy to get. The florist did have some tulips because we're starting to have some weddings again, so there were some tulips available. And they have a tendency to grow. I will be cutting them back here in the water so that they remain fresh. Are you around?
Yes.
Okay, my husband Gene is helping me. And my poodle, Gandalf, I hope is going to help and not get in the way. So actually that's it. I'm going to leave it at that without any other foliage. And you can view it here from the front straight on, but also if we'd like to see a little bit of the vase, one of the nice things about using glass is the water becomes part of the artistry. So I'll try to move that. More, okay.
I don't know if you can really see it.
So here there's a little bit more of the water showing, or we could even move it sideways like that. So when you move these around, we have many different ways to display them. Here comes the poodle. Okay, so that's my first one. Very, very simple, very elegant, just the tulips and the bark. So if you'd like to take this, Jean. Now, speaking of the poodle, the next vase, this was made by a local potter. And my poodle was chasing the cat one day and broke it. So it's broken just like we are. I glued it together, and for me, that adds to the charm. This is just a simple kitchen cutting board, and I would like to use different things for my vases. So probably from the distance you can't see the cracks that I have in here. But even before it was broken, it was not watertight. So it happens that from the local, take the dog out of the way, from the local sandwich shop, their large iced tea cup fits perfectly in there. So I'm going to have Jean bring me some water. Now for the first variation of this arrangement, I don't actually need the water, but it will help to give me a little bit more weight. These branches are from my garden, and actually I cut these last fall. They're so beautiful. You know, when I'm watching the demonstrations from India, your flowers are very exotic to us. And I was watching one with your big, beautiful trumpet flowers, and I said, wow, we don't have anything like that, but probably what we have here is exotic to others. So this is a twisted filbert, and it's such a sculptural, beautiful branch. So what I'm going to do here is use the little spaces between the cup and the vase. Now, where's my flowers? Okay, there we go. This is a Snow Queen hydrangea. Now, when these bloomed, I guess the bloom started in late May or June, and they were snow white, beautiful, beautiful white flowers. And then as the season goes on, they turn this beautiful burgundy red. The nice thing, too, about the hydrangea is that they will dry very nicely, and they'll dry in this color, and they'll get more of a bronze. So I can actually do an arrangement with them without water. And these leaves will turn bronze as well. So instead of putting them the way that they would grow on the bush, they remind me of grapes, so I'm going to put them as if they were grapes hanging down. Well, they're very one-sided. The side towards the sun is the side that I want to use. You may hear the pitter-patter of poodle feet. I could actually leave the arrangement as it is with this completely open space in the center. I like the space, and also this, as a dancer, I'm always looking for movement in my arrangements. Or I could put some leaves in there. To fill out the center a little bit. So that's one possibility, one arrangement that we can do. And if I might like to use something fresh, where did I put another one? So that's all from the garden. Now this is from the florist. These are very popular here for weddings. This is the snowball type hydrangea, so we could put that one in as a centerpiece. And for that now I do need the water. So that's my arrangement number 2, and I will, Jean, if you will guide me, then I'll just turn it a little bit.
Okay, move it to the left.
Move it to the left.
Yeah, there you go.
I actually like this very much from this 3/4 view. So we'll turn it the other way. So each direction that we turn it, we have a different view. Okay, so that's a combination of our Ohio garden and also a little help from the florist. All right, so let's take this one right. I'm going to go now to a very tall glass vase. I like to use the glass a lot in the summertime. Again, using the water as a feature. And because many of the flowers in spring and in the summer are very delicate. And I also like some contrast. So this is a really rough hewn looking branch. And when my husband now, when he's trimming the trees, he knows what I like. So he saves branches for me, and it's not unusual for me to stop along the road if I see something that I like. So let's play with this. Try to remember to do this. Another balancing act, and we can play with the angles here a little bit. These are the flowers that I've chosen. Now these I did get from the florist. The monstera leaf. And they're very shiny because I've sprayed them with leaf shine. I'm just going to, in a way, use this as a fixation, although it's not very fixed, but I'm using the little gaps in there to place the leaves. You can hear my finches probably singing to you in the background. They're really loud today. The tulips have grown quite a bit, so I took them out of the window the other day to make sure they didn't get any bigger. But they have such nice, graceful movement in their lives. And here you can see the green in the water also is giving us part of the design. This is an interesting one. It's got actually 2 flowers on the same stem. One of the things I like to do when I'm arranging is step back and see often the process. Where I might stop in the middle is fine. Where I just use actually it's 3 flowers, but it's 2 stems. And this arrangement could be stopped right there. I did decide that I would add another flower. Give you this, Jean. Of course, we can manipulate flowers. You can use wire and all kinds of things, but most of the time, I like to allow the materials to tell me where they want to go. So here we have a little triangle. Now I could move that around in many different ways, but what we'll do today is just rotate the vase so that you see different views. I'll just turn that. And I actually like this one from all viewpoints. I'll step back there. One of the sights that I see all the time in the garden that I can't really reproduce inside unless I'm looking from the back is the way the light often shines through the petals. And we see them from the back. And they have a beauty from the underside also. And so here again, I feel like the Monstera is a really elegant leaf, and tulips can be elegant or they can be casual. And then the branch is very, very rustic, so I like the contrast of those materials. Okay, this one, be careful. You'll probably have to hold the branch. So this is why a lot of times Ikebana doesn't travel very well. So it's nice to be able to arrange, if you're doing it for a function, to arrange where it's going to stay. So we're going to do another glass. And here again, I'm going to use the idea of contrast. We're using, again, a kitchen cutting board. I don't have a lot of expensive Ikebana containers. I just grab anything and use it. This is kind of a standard cube that many people use to display flowers. So again, with the glass, you would think of something maybe a little bit more delicate, but I've chosen this very, very heavy branch. And as I said, my husband now knows what I like. So if he's cutting trees or he's cutting firewood, then he'll say, okay, I better save this for my wife. So I'm going to put this now right into the cube. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a balancing act. Now I've chosen a combination here of something from my garden, or one variation. I've already prepared my branches so that I can move along here pretty well. This is viburnum, and it's a wonderful plant. In the spring, they have beautiful white flowers. And in the summertime, then starting in late June, they start to form into these beautiful berries. So you can see the colorful berries. They're red, black, and yellow, and green. Very beautiful. And then in the fall, the foliage is gorgeous. It's red and yellow. It's really, really beautiful. I'm going to actually use the branch to help me a little bit here to hold my material. You could actually stop there. I like the minimalist viewpoint. I'm just going to edit some leaves here that are showing you the back side. So actually there's one possibility. Where I could use another branch. So once again, I could stop there. I like the feeling of space in here, the uneven spaces, and the contrast with the wood. And then I had another idea to use from the florist, to use some tulips once again. This is another one of those interesting stems that has actually two flowers coming off of it. Cutting the soft material under the water to help it breathe the water first. Yes, the finches they're really vocal today. I guess they're excited to be here. Oops, there it goes. I don't have any fixation in here, so I just have to rely on things doing what they want to do against each other. So I will maybe move this around into some different locations to give you a different view. But let's just spin the cube again and see what kind of views we have. Again, I like this sideways view or three-quarter view. So looking at it, if I was displaying that, I would probably do it in this direction. I always try different possibilities to see if there's maybe a different location that I would prefer with the flowers. But I'm going to stick with the centerpiece. I'm still able to keep lots of space in there, and I'm loving the color contrast and the orange with the red and the yellow. Okay, so this is another tricky one to move. Jean's a little heavy. So now we're going to do a little bit of a landscape. Again, this is not an expensive Ikebana bowl. This is a platter to serve jerky on or ham or whatever you like. Go on, Poodle. I'm going to use a couple of Kanzans here, and I'll have Jean bring me a little bit of water. Now, normally I would do this where it's going to stay, and so I would fill the water up to cover the pins. But if I do that, we're going to have a mess. So I'll put enough water in that you can hopefully get the feeling of the water and a little bit of the reflection. But we want to be able to move it, so again. And then I'll need those flowers. Originally, I wanted to do this with okay. Oh no.
No?
The ones over there. The snaps. Right here, Jan. Yeah. I wanted to do this with crocosmia. I did work with crocosmia earlier, but last week they stopped blooming. And it's a very beautiful flower that we can grow here in Ohio. So I had to find something that would have a long, graceful stem and something in a similar color. The crocosmia was bright red. And again, talking about seeing a sight in nature that you'd like to interpret or reproduce. The hummingbirds love the crocosmia, and it's got the beautiful, graceful curve, and you'd see the hummingbirds working around it. So I wanted to express that in this landscape. I'm going to actually take these out of here. I'll do a fresh cut. I'm using snapdragons. They are a biannual here, which means that they do seed, reseed themselves, and come back each year, but they're not a perennial. They're too long. To see which way they're planning to go today. It's quite a heavy stem. Maybe that will have to be my tall one. He doesn't want to stand today, so let's see here if I can use. I'm using a bit of the tulip bottom that I cut off to try to stabilize this guy. Oops. I used a piece of the bottom of my tulip, one to put the stem through and then another one to brace it from the back because they're quite top heavy. I did also clean my stems to save time today. There's lots of little leaves that don't hold up very well. They get very wilted, so I did clean those off before today. This is a bit of curly willow. And again, I've had it for a while because I never throw these things away. I keep using them all the time. It's at least a year old, so it's really tough to get that into the Kensington. So let's see if I can reach. This is a cloisonne hummingbird. If we can which way? This way? Jane's guiding me. So we hope this will not fall down when I put the hummingbird in here. Oops. These leaves are from the crocosmia, the original flower that I wanted to use. They're very, very dramatic, so. So this is the picture I wanted to portray, was that feeling and that sight of seeing the hummingbirds around the flowers that they like to get the nectar from in a landscape. And I love this blue bowl to contrast with red or with orange flowers. I might like to also put some rock in here to cover the Kenzan. So I'll step back. Now, this one I'm not going to move because this is a very delicate balancing act, so I'll just step back so that you can see it. I did also plan a second variation if you like more color. I think that I prefer it as it is. This is Liatris, and here this is a native wildflower in Ohio. They grow everywhere, and I started them in the garden and then put a few here and there, and my husband says now that those are weeds. But I like to arrange with weeds because they're interesting too. But these are really a beautiful touch of blue to the garden. So we might just like to add these bloom for a long time. Start at the top and then work their way down. So they look beautiful when they're blooming on the top, and then when they're blooming on the bottom, the top is very narrow and it swells out to the bottom. So that's my second variation of the hummingbird. So somehow we're going to move this. Yeah, I'll take the bird off. So now we're moving on to one that I just decided to do yesterday, but we didn't have that space. We went to my brother-in-law's house because he bought a property and they had a mimosa tree there last year. And the mimosa, here, the mimosa looks very exotic here. In a lot of places you can't grow them in our area. And last year I was driving to the studio where I teach dancing, saw a beautiful mimosa tree, and well, I'm just going to stop and ask the homeowner if I can have a branch. So we went over to my brother-in-law's place and he had chopped the mimosa down. So I didn't get that, but what he did have is a bit of bulb cypress. You can bring the bucket over, which has that beautiful ferny sort of foliage. And also the cones are beginning to form, so I'll bring that over. You can see the little cones down here.
This is a camera.
To move slowly because the movement blurs. And because of its habit, it's going to be a horizontal arrangement. So I didn't get the mimosa, but I got something wonderful instead. This is a ceramic vase. I believe this is a real Ikebana vase. My teacher and director in our Moto school here in Cincinnati, Brenda Baird, often receives donations from past members or families, and she'll have a little bit of a sale, and this is what I found at one of her sales. But this has this beautiful draping habit to it. Then the other wonderful thing that I found on the ground, I found a couple of really interesting mushrooms. Bring those a little bit closer to the camera. So that's the top of the mushroom. And what I've done here, this is a skewer, like you might put fruit on. Actually, this was from a fruit basket, and they had pineapple in there. And so I put some florist wire through the soft part of the mushroom and wrapped it so that I can just place it here with those beautiful ruffled edges looking out at us. And this gorgeous brown color, it's got some dappling in there. Now this one didn't have that much of a stem on it. So I want to show you the underneath part. Closer. There. So that's the part I wanted to show here. And again, I have a piece of wire, which will be pretty invisible. And you know, I have the choice of hanging this in so many different places on here, almost like an ornament. So I'm going to put that on the branch, or I could use the vase. So Jean, are there any questions coming in? No? If you're in the United States, maybe you're just waking up. It's a Sunday, rainy Sunday morning. Can you see the light? Yeah. I knew we were not going to get through this with the poodle having a little fit. Someone's walking on a sidewalk. So actually, that could be it. I do have another option that I'm going to do, but I'm going to just rotate this around a few times. Again, the things that I find very special here are the habit of the leaves, the beautiful cones, and then the contrast of the brown, and that's why I chose this vase. Yes, you'd be a good boy. Let the poodle through. From the florist, I was able to get some of these kangaroo petals, which are just beautiful. And that color, I did not have this arrangement in mind, but I cannot resist kangaroo petals. So I'm going to use those that have a little bit more of a red color to set off the green and the browns. So that is my final on this one, and let's take a look from some different angles. So for me, that is my favorite angle from where I'm standing. Okay. I think that we're already at my last one, aren't we? The big one. Now this mirror, there were actually 4 of them down at the ballet studio at Cincinnati Ballet when they were renovating. And they were available to whoever wanted them. So I took all 4 of them. And so I'm going to use that as my base. Actually, first I need the driftwood. You're okay, doggy. This piece of driftwood actually was a really large piece before. We got this from the Ohio River and had put it in our pond. So let's use this. And then it's gotten smaller and smaller over time as it broke apart. And I have to do something with that. It's awfully big. But if I use the mirror as a base, then I can pull everything together here. So now I need my stand from the rummage sale. And I just need this vase. So my husband goes to China fairly regularly with his job. And he bought this beautiful vase from a street vendor. I'd like to use that. This is from the tree in front of the house. It's a Japanese maple. We had 2 late frosts this year, really extreme frosts, and so they did recover, but you can see the leaves have some damage. But this is part of the beauty in Ikebana is we don't worry about having perfect materials. We're reflecting the beauty of nature and also imperfections that are just part of the beauty. So I'm going to use that. They have also a beautiful color. This is a red Japanese maple. Here's a bit of willow. Again, I've had this willow for a long time from other arrangements, and I just keep them. They can be used forever. Another of the beautiful monstera leaves. This might be something that I could use with no flowers at all. Just the beautiful green and red against the brown. This is Boston ivy. We have this growing in several places. Can be quite invasive. I try to keep it under control. But I love to have some because it is such a beautiful plant. This also turns a beautiful bronze color in the fall. And these are daisy mums. These are from the florist. You can always get mums and daisy mums here. Stuffing a lot into this little vase. This is going to be a very full arrangement. These I did get from the florist. I have a lot of the hardy Asiatic lilies in my garden, but I wasn't sure how many would be still in bloom. This is something that I need to keep up high if you do have a cat. Lily is poisonous for a cat. So the other thing that I did not remove, the pollen. If this was displayed somewhere on tablecloth or if it was going to an event, then I would remove these because they will spill. They'll spill onto the flower petals and they'll spill onto the surface. But I actually do love the contrast. I love the bronze color. So I'm leaving them on for this arrangement. So this one now, I could finish this right here. So I've decided once again to do several options. The first option would have been simply the leaves and the branch. And then the second one is this full arrangement. But I have a second vase that my husband bought when he bought that first one. show this up close so you can see the beautiful detail on the vase. So the vase itself is very special. But if I would like to do two vases together, talking to each other, then I'll go ahead with this one. And you can see the monstera leaves are so shiny with the spray. Another smaller bit of willow. And I've just taken the trimmings of the Japanese maple. Kind of getting that nice bronze color. Green. Again, a bit of ivy. It's got a really nice curved shape. I'm just using all of the same types of materials in smaller amounts to reflect the larger vase. Yes, the finches are singing to you. Those, the ones you hear are owl finches. They're about this big, and they often sound like they're meowing like a cat. So again, I have some options in how I might like to display that. I'll step back. So that is my final arrangement for today. That's the big one, and I saved that one for last because we can't really move this. It's quite a chore. So, boy, that went so fast for me. I've enjoyed this so much. So I want to thank all of you. Thank Nina for asking me to do this, and Kelly Ikebana and Ikebana International, and all our friends around the world who love flowers and branches and mushrooms and weeds and rocks and all the wonderful things that we can bring into our home to reflect the season around us. Also want to wish a happy 20th anniversary to our local Moto Ikebana group. We're getting ready to celebrate.
Wow. Happy anniversary from all of us as well, Bonita. And Bonita, I have to tell you, it was a beautiful, beautiful arrangements that we have seen. I am short of words, but it was scintillating, I have to tell you. And what was the most beautiful part about your arrangements was that the variations you showed us. So they were very doable, they were minimalistic, and they were just apt. Thank you so very much, Bonita, for doing this for us. And I would like to thank and take this opportunity to thank all our viewers for being with us. And it was a pleasure having all of you. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye. Until next time.